Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? It's Matt for YoVideogames, and we're taking a look at the best of 2014, and we're winding down to some of my absolute favorite games of not only this year, but possibly all time. So of course the last two games all boil down to two simple things: bananas and sex. And let's start with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Now, I've always been a big fan of the DKC series. I really loved their atmosphere, their soundtrack, and just their simple dedication to having a fun platformer. Tropical Freeze brought all that back and more when it released early this year in February. One of the reasons I love Tropical Freeze so much is that the worlds feel alive. There's a nice sort of progression between level to level. Not only do you see the progression between the levels on each one of the islands you visit, but there's even progression from island to island as you make your way back home to the original DK island that's been frozen over. Tropical Freeze has this sort of great aspect of the game where it makes you feel like you want to explore the world, and you kind of like seeing the stories that are sort of built up around the levels rather than having them told to you in text or in cutscenes. You can see a sort of ship graveyard for all these airplanes in the first islands, and it's really amazing to see this Atlantis-like feel in Seabreeze Cove that gives a sort of like ancient ruined history behind it and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So it's really nice to see a Nintendo platformer having worlds that feel really fleshed out and alive rather than, say, the Mario games, which are still good, but they sort of feel like they're going into this sort of like almost debug mode where you don't really have a lot of rhyme or reason or connection. Things are just kind of floating blocks strung together with colorful texture smeared over them. More than just the world's feeling alive, though, what's really great about Tropical Freeze is that there's a lot of variety in every level. No two levels just rely on the same gimmick of the previous one. Now, you of course could say, well, there's a couple minecart levels and a couple rocket barrel levels, but even then they try to mix it up a bit with each one of them. It really stands out to me as something very unique when I see that someone takes a game that has 40 to 50 plus levels of a 2D side-scroller and finds a way to make each and every one of them feel like a fresh, unique experience. That is not easy to do, and it really shows to the strength of retro. Of course, we can't just talk about how the levels look and how much variety they have without mentioning the soundtrack. Now, they've brought David Wise back, who is a completely amazing composer from the Rare days. And what he does is he brings a sense of mood and atmosphere that is unmatched by anyone. As great as a lot of the composers are across the world, David Wise has a unique style that is something you just won't get anywhere else. And I don't mind the soundtrack in Donkey Kong Country Returns, but there's a unique touch to David Wise that he brings that makes these worlds feel alive and have more emotion to them. And it's something you can't really describe because it's music. How do you describe music? It's something you have to play and listen to yourself. If you do, you'll find that the soundtrack to this game is one of the best that has come out this year. I see this said by people across the internet everywhere, but it's weird how it seems to be sort of ignored by the general media at large. This truly does have one of the best soundtracks of platformer genre of this year, of almost any year. It's really great. You have to give it a look, and you have to see how it connects and flows with the game itself. It's something you just can't put into words. Another reason people really like Tropical Freeze is the challenge. Now, the game is kind of hard on its own, but I always feel that you can always go to Funky Kong if you really need stuff to, like, give you extra chances if you fall into a pit, or if you need some extra protection on minecart levels. I don't really feel that it's impossible for normal people to beat, but other than that, there are optional challenges. Each world has a special K level, and these special K levels have this sort of asshole Mario difficulty curve to them that some people really just crave and love. Normally, I kind of ignore extreme challenges nowadays, but DK games are so good that I had to play them and I had to beat them myself. And I really like the fact that they're not something you have to do. You don't have to play these levels to get to the end game. You can actually play and enjoy the game completely on its own without going to these super optional hard levels. So that's actually a really cool feature to have, I think, and make it something that's there for everyone but not necessary. If there is one small nitpick I have to have for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, it would be that the bonus rooms. The bonus rooms are a staple of the series, and here they're kind of nice, they're kind of cool. They offer some different ways of collecting a bunch of bananas before time runs out, but by the end of the game, you'll find that there's not a huge variety to the bonus rooms, and they kind of repeat themselves a lot. So by the end of it, you just kind of want to get the bonus rooms over with. Thankfully, they're very, very, very short, and you only really need to do them if you want to collect all the puzzle pieces, which is only really there if you want to see the concept art. Again, completely optional, not something you need to do, not something that's going to hinder your end game experience, but just something there But I wish they had more variety. That's only really nitpick I can say about it. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, probably my personal favorite game of the year overall. I love this genre, I love platformers, and I just love it when they're done exceptionally well. They're very easy to fuck up, kind of like a fighting game in that respect, but at the same time, when they're done to the level of excellence and polish that we see here, it just makes me love the game. And in fact, I have gone back and played it even recently, even within the last few weeks, even have very little time to play video games anymore with all my work. But this game is just so much fun and so good that you can't just help but grab the gamepad and just play it in bed sometimes, because it's such a wonderful experience. And if you have any sort of love for platformers, you owe it to yourself to play this game out. There's already a couple of other good platformers on the Wii U, and if you like platformers, you need to buy this system. Because not only is there some pretty good ones from other companies and other parts of Nintendo, there is an absolutely amazing one. System worth owning for platformer that came out this February, and that's Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It may just be about a bunch of gorillas trying to get bananas and get back to their home, but it is one of the best experiences you can have this year. You need to buy this game if you have any sort of love for this genre. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you later on the channel. Later, dudes.